What is up, everybody? Let me invite some people to this live. Looking forward to Corona joining us, and who else will join us on this auspicious occasion? So, fear, cock blocking. How is fear cock blocking your purpose? Do you have a purpose? What is your purpose? I noticed this could be a game all by itself. Learning how to move through your day, staying in line to find your purpose, and not getting shaken from your purpose. So, Corona's about to join us here in a second, and then we're going to get right into it. Invite her again. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hello.
Good day.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. It's Friday finally, for me at least. So a little relieved that the work week is basically done and over with before the holidays. How are
Nice.
you?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Good. Have you introduced the topic for today?
Fear. Cock
But
blocking.
what's the other
Cock
part to
blocking
that?
your purpose. What was that?
What was the other part to that?
It's all about fear cock blocking your purpose.
There it is. Fear cock blocking your purpose.
Yeah. And I used to think that the term cock blocking was a term that men used. And then over the last 5 years I've heard women use it too.
Because women get cock blocked all the time, dude.
Yeah. I just never really thought about it because it's different for women to
Mm.
get cock blocked. Um
I don't
and
know. I think it's the same. Because we get cock blocked not just by other people, but like by other things, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be another person with a
oh no,
cock.
I'm talking about the original cock block.
Oh, okay. Well, what's the
So
origin of that?
you're well, it makes more sense that now that you say it from the woman's side that that say I'm hanging out with one of my friends, and then I say something to a woman and she finds interesting, and then all of a sudden my friend comes in there, or maybe one of her female friends comes in there. Oh, we got to go. When we were kind of vibing with each other, and then all of a sudden that friend takes the person away. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It happens.
So that's the origin of that. And you think about, no matter who the woman is, you guys have, for most people, you guys have more people making advances at you.
Mm.
But still, you may have, there may be certain situations that you really want to hook up with this person, or you want to go out with this person, or whatever the case is, and that's where it comes. So it's from a societal point, it looks like pretty much it conceptually, and a lot of people would agree with it, but I don't think it's the case that most women could get any man that they wanted, absence if they're in a relationship or whatever the case is. But most women could get any man that they wanted. But a lot of times, women are having men come at the type of men that they don't want are mostly coming to them. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. Because I believe that people manifest, right? And if you are putting it into the universe that you want a person that is this, and that, you might just manifest that person. I mean,
Okay.
not everybody's perfect, right? So sometimes I feel like the way that we are will also reflect some of the bad things that we carry with us in the other person.
So that, I think that makes the perfect introduction, because you're putting that energy out into the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're on the vibration of fear, you're more apt to attract what you don't want than
Mm-hmm.
what you do want, because it might show up as the lesson that you need to
Oh
learn
yeah.
in order to attract what you really want.
Mm.
And and we could go back and forth of what you really want, but I mean what your soul's calling for you, that would be the right fit. So
Mm.
I want to tell a story about, and when we're talking about cock blocking, doing the purpose, the cock blocking is an analogy in this place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my ex, she had a son, and her son was probably around 5 at the time, and he would be in other rooms. I would tell him to go do his homework, or whatever the case would be, and then he didn't want to be alone. So I kept on saying, okay, we'll start him off small. We'll put him in the room
Mm-hmm.
for 5 minutes, and then he comes. Then we'll work up to 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll gradually make it more.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was more emotionally getting caught up into it. So I'm not trying to get it so all of a sudden doesn't have to be at that age. He doesn't have to be around anybody. He could just be in his own bubble. But I was
Mm-hmm.
slowly working up to that. And then he comes to me, and after making it to 15 minutes, we celebrated that in a good way. And I got tears in my eyes. And I said, Aaron, it's okay to be fearful, but don't keep it away from what you want to do in life.
Mm.
And until that situation with him, I wasn't as much so apt to acknowledge that I was fearful.
Mm.
And I had conditioned my body to not feel fear. But there's
Mm.
wisdom in that fear. There's lots of wisdom in that fear. That bullshit. What's bullshit? It's manure. What's manure? It's
So
fertilizer.
fear is a great thing because of
Say
the
it again.
wisdom fear is a great thing because of the wisdom that it carries.
Yes. But you can be out of alignment and be operating on fear. You could be under the influence of fear. That's when it's
So
toxic.
that's the fine line there.
Correct.
Oh.
I have another example that operating off of fear of how dangerous it can be. So this is a past story, but it came to me recently. I had somebody that I was aligned with on projects, a female, very, very successful. She would have parties at her house, inviting people from the public to have parties at her house.
Mm.
And this same female I'm going to try and tell the story why I'm inviting Jerome on here.
Okay. I'm gonna be playing with Play-Doh while you speak.
Yeah, yeah. And this same female, she has these parties at her house. And she doesn't like
Mm.
to be alone. Very successful. She she's
Interesting.
she's fearful of people coming into her parties, like threatening, a lot of like threats that they've made towards her. But she wants to have a lot of men come over to her house to protect her. And there's a certain level of attraction for that security that they provide. Does that make sense? But also, she's putting herself in danger by inviting because she doesn't want to be alone. She's not channeling this fear. The main fear is being
Mm-hmm.
alone, and then she's putting herself in danger by
Inviting
inviting
men
people
over,
over. Yeah, yeah.
specifically men.
So typically men, and the I never went over there, unless we're working on business. But I never went there
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want there to be a codependence. Because I gotta go away from my
Because
life.
you already knew that that's part of part of her pattern, right? What she liked to do and how she was coping with some of her life journeys.
Exactly.
Huh.
And we had conversations about it, but she wasn't fully open to it. But in danger with having the parties there. Hey, Jerome, how's it going?
What's going on?
Let me finish this
Welcome,
story.
Jerome.
Let me
Okay,
finish this story, and then I'll welcome you aboard to get involved.
all right. Let me call you
So,
back so I can
okay,
park. All right,
okay.
I'll come back.
So she was putting herself in danger
Hmm.
by having people come over there, and then also what seemed to be the solution was kind of a codependent situation, and it was probably harming some of her friend relationships with men. It probably was harming some of the uh, relationships with her business relationships,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a fine line sometimes when you're drawing in emotions into a situation.
Mm.
So what I is, when we set goals, either we manifest the lesson we need to learn, or we manifest the solution.
I'm gonna write that down. You're gonna have to say that one more time so I can grab pencil
So when we
and a
put out
paper.
when we set intentions and we put it out into the universe,
Mm-hmm.
we manifest one of two things. And I'm simplifying this.
Okay.
We manifest the solution, or we manifest the lesson.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I had to write it down so I could see it.
And and a lot of times, yeah. So a lot of times that somebody prayed to God, and then turns out the universe sent them these people. Because you think about God, and it was a perfect example. It was one of these churches, somebody cut off the arms of the Jesus statue outside, and the preacher put a sign on it. It was here in San Diego. The preacher put a sign that said, "I have no hands but yours." So God, the God, however you want to define it, is it. God works through us. So when you set intentions and you want something, it either shows up with the lesson or shows up with the solution. The solution. And how good we are at this has the difference between us hitting rock bottom to finally wake up, or just getting a little lesson and saying, "Oh, I'm going to make a life change. I'm going to move to Denver. I'm going to get out of this relationship." Or we have to keep on living the same lesson over and over and over again as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. First, it starts with a nice little wind blowing, and then it starts to get louder and louder and louder and louder, and then all of a sudden your life's all fucked up. So, Corona, do you have something to say?
Really hard to process a lot of what you were saying because it kept like chopping in and out. But what I did hear was that it gets more difficult over time, right?
If you resist making the proper change,
Ah,
that's when it
yeah.
gets hard.
Life is like a cycle. And I don't know, personally, right? I believe that if we come back into this reality, into this realm, into the earth, whatever times we're living, whatever form and carne that you are is another life journey, right? And sometimes you're reliving or maybe living it in a different way, shape, or form. Some of the things that you had to relearn or finish learning or whatnot. So it's important to keep
And
your
that's for everybody. That's
right,
for
right,
everybody on this planet. Some
right.
are better than others about getting the lesson faster.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's like peeling the layers of an onion.
Mm-hmm.
You may get that lesson, but then you get a little too comfortable,
Mm.
and then it comes up again. But you've already resolved a lot of that lesson, but every once in a while we need reminders. And I've gotten better at seeing those lessons in other people because I only have 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And it's good to learn. I was going to say
Mm-hmm.
it's not live vicariously through people, but learn vicariously through people. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden the person shows up and is like, oh, that person's homeless. They're homeless because this, and this. I can learn from that situation and
Mm-hmm.
possibly help them, but also I'm going to be able to learn it myself. Or
Mm-hmm.
Nelson Mandela went to prison for 27 years. He was at a terrorist training camp. I mean, he was going outside of South Africa to learn terrorist training, and then they caught him. They made him not even known about the terrorist training, but they knew other stuff that he was doing. Then he ended up spending 27 years in prison to learn humility. I don't have to go to prison for 27 years. You don't have to go to prison for 27 years. You can see a Nelson Mandela movie and be able to make your adjustments of how powerful humility can be.
Mm. It's like, what do you intend to do, or to what lengths do you intend to go, um, to protect your like karmic cycle, you know?
One of the things is that I mean I'm not perfect. I'm not and if I look back on all the mistakes that I've made, um, that's why I'll never say that I'm enlightened. Um,
And the art.
Enlightened or spiritually entitled.
Mm.
Um, the because of the mistakes that I've gone through and that I've made and I've made repeatedly. At this
Mm.
point, I've learned how to I was gonna say take advantage of my mistakes, but really learn that there's like power in mistake, willingness
Mm.
to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm. And admitting to them
Yeah. And I'll give you a
and
perfect example, and
face
it's
thoughts with you the other day. Times we make mistakes and we're not even aware of it, but like all it takes is a little spark of consciousness, whether it be by yourself or somebody else, and they kind of, call you in on it or call you out on it in whatever way that looks, right? But facing those blind spots and trying to like actively work on it is two different things.
do you know the post-it pads? Hello, Corona. So I don't know if you guys can hear me, but the Post-it pads are, story of that is the guy that created the Post-it pad was trying to create very, very strong adhesive, like very, very strong. And he ended up making the adhesive that isn't strong. And then he ended up making himself up, because he made that mistake, he ended up making himself a multimillionaire.
Interesting.
The Harvard model that quote unquote that I talk about a lot, these guys are afraid of making mistakes. The fear of, and Corona's heard me a lot, and you'll look on social media. If you look on my social media, I have lots of mistakes, grammar wise. Some people, a lot of perfect insecure about making mistakes. They have the same look of fear on their face if a lion was chasing them just from making a grammatical mistake. And that fear is getting in the way of what we want to do, be, and have and create in this world. And that's why a lot of times, from a publicity standpoint and also managing my fear, I have the Marleys trying to come after me. I've had Starbucks try to come after me. I barely got a C in business law when in college, but I've shut down major attorneys. The fact that they didn't even want to take me to court. And I was channeling most of the information because I got leverage that living my purpose was like life. It was my life. Living my purpose was my life. Not living my purpose, I put leverage of massive fear for not living my purpose. So I don't let anybody get in the way of that. Because that's how you're controlled. I was gonna say how they control you, but that's how they can control you. They can do that look, and I've said this many times. They can do that look that when you're 2 years old, your parents give you, and then all of a sudden you just like change and you adjust everything and you give up on your purpose, or you have some great idea that's going to change the world, and then all of a sudden your perfect girl, or woman for a relationship shows up, or the perfect man shows up for you. But the one thing about this person is they don't want you to live your purpose. That,
you know, what word is kind of popping in my head as you're talking?
Bird is the word. Oh no, that's not it.
Discipline. And one thing that's popping out at me is, well, I had to look it up because I'm like, yo, the first part of it reminds me of the word disciple. And it kind of almost looks like it. All the letters to that word are in there.
I never connected those words, but when you first said discipline, I did. Go ahead.
Yeah. So like that was the first word when I first looked it up that I was like, wait, that reminds me of that word, disciple. Funny enough, it has all of those letters in it. But there's obviously different definitions to this word. The first word that comes out on Google is the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior using punishment to correct disobedience.
So I would call that the military discipline.
Yes.
So
second one.
In military, wait, real quick. In military discipline, they will train you that if war breaks out, I've heard several military people say, if war breaks out, my life expectancy is 7 seconds.
Jesus.
So they train them everything that your cells have survived for so long. They train you to do the opposite of that. Go ahead.
Second one, a branch of knowledge typically one studied in higher education. Train someone to obey rules or a code of behavior using punishment to correct disobedience. Okay, so I don't like any of those definitions, right? And if I could apply a discipline in the most perfect way in my own life, I think one of the things I would take from the word and some of the definitions would be basically to create your own rules. Obviously, weighing out the goods and the bads, fishing out all of the ones that are more godlike, because at the end of the day, is that not what part of some people's purpose is? Regarding religion?
Can we work through your thinking right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're molding it. We're molding the idea.
So I did a video a while ago talking about that I have spiritual discipline. So besides when I helped out my father because he had to be somewhere and like he had to be at a place early in the morning. He had to be at a place at 4 a.m. In the last 15 years, I've only set an alarm 4 times. And I wake up every day, whether I feel like shit or whether I feel real good, living my purpose. We'll get to you in a second, Jerome. So you can interject your magic. So that discipline, that spiritual discipline, opposed to that military discipline that is probably there for a certain reason. Because what I said is like they're getting you to, my life expectancy if war breaks out is 12 seconds. Let me go into that building, even though all my nervous system is telling me not to do that. And that same discipline, if you use it in your everyday life, somebody can, because that same discipline you might be taking in, oh, I got to get married, I got to have kids, I got to do all this, which I'm not against that, but I'm saying is that stuff might be a conflict because you're so busy following a bunch of rules. I say I don't follow rules. I only follow laws. Because these rules that a lot of us follow are mainly a lot of distractions. So it's all about that spiritual discipline that you follow what your soul is calling for you to follow. So, Corona, go ahead and say stuff, and then I want to see Jerome tie this up in a nice bow.
That makes sense, what you were saying. Sometimes you do have to go against your gut. Sometimes.
No, I don't think I don't think
is that what you're saying?
No, your gut is
your gut is the main thing. No, intentions, right? That's where the intentions come from. For sure.
What society tells you is not your gut.
So that's what you're defining as the difference between laws and rules.
What the main thing that we talked about is you following your own rules and laws. That's fine. When I say laws, I mean those are the laws of the universe. So when you're talking about the main essence that you said is like, I want to make up my own rules or follow my own rules. That's what your soul's calling you to do. And society's going to throw a bunch of stuff in front of you
to distract you from it.
Or they're going to say, oh yeah, I'm trying not to talk about specifics that you and I have talked about, but it's like your family knows how to push your buttons. And then you get in a tizzy and an argument with them, and then all of a sudden you lost sight of your goal. You'll learn not to pick those fights, but to stay focused on your goal. Or channel into what's going on with those fights so you can learn what you need to know, because that can help you release blind spots that you have. So, Jerome, how do you feel about Army discipline, and I'm fine if you don't understand the concept, I can speak on it, opposed to the discipline that your soul's calling you to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that comes up a lot. The Army discipline is similar to the athletic discipline. If you want to accomplish a goal, you need to have a specific goal. You have a specific goal in mind. And it might be important to achieve that goal, and it might not be, but it might be imposed. But for to achieve a goal, you need that athletic discipline, that military discipline, the focus, non-distracted, single-minded, a little bit of a insensitivity to anything else is not cooperating with that. And you can achieve a goal. You can achieve great things with that, but it will not guarantee its fulfillment. Because you can achieve a goal, but it's not going to be fulfillment, and it may not be, sometimes, depending on what the goal is, connected to your well-being, your health.
So what you're saying, like the athletic Steve in the past, opposed to the spiritual Steve. The spiritual Steve might have a time like when, say, I was doing the 100-yard dash. I was a baseball player, but say I was doing the 100-yard dash. I might want to run in 3 different lanes. The spiritual Steve. but
it's a little bit different because the athlete, there's a little bit of a combination of your life path in there. It might be at that time, being guided the spirit, but to do that thing. But still, you have a regimen. You got to train, show up. You got to follow those, the rules of the team. You got to stay disciplined and focused, But on the spiritual side, on just the pure spiritual side, you still have some discipline. You have still some parameters that you follow, but more so, you're listening to the final touch points of what creates peace, bliss, and well-being that leads you to the vision that you're being guided to and that you can see, and you're feeling out and following. That means the path could change a little bit, and you may not be able to describe what it is, sometimes everything that is entailed in that to another person who may want to know, but you can feel where you need to be. And sometimes you can know, but you're following an inner guidance. Like, okay, here's an example. I'm gonna give you an example, kind of far away. Okay, go ahead and we're gonna stretch the neck. It'll feel good though. Just bring the chin to chest like this, and just put your head down, and just pull your head down just a little bit, and you'll feel the stretch of the back of the neck. Okay, and then turn your head to the side like this. Put your hand on the top of the head and pull your head over, and you'll feel a nice stretch there. Now, even if you turn your head towards the shoulder and pull your head down like that, and you'll feel another stretch to the side. You feel that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now you can do the other side just to balance that out. Turn head to the side, and you'll feel that stretch in the side of the neck. And then turn your head towards the arm and pull the head towards the shoulder, and you feel that stretch. All right, and you stretch the neck. You feel kind of good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, this would be an equivalent to the spiritual guidance. Close your eyes for a moment and just relax. I want you to bring the chin to the chest and gently roll the head to the right, ear to shoulder. And then roll the head forward, chin to chest, and over to your left, ear to shoulder. And then roll the head from one side to the other, and even back and forth, up and down and around in the angles and positions that create a felt sense of peace, bliss, and well-being. Maybe it gets the stretch, maybe it not, but you'll notice a certain angle that not only gives you the stretch, but draws your awareness inwards into a deeper, more relaxed state. Your consciousness even shifts. It draws your awareness into a meditative state, a moving meditation. And just feel and just continue that until it brings your head to a stillness. It may be a deep stretch. It may be a certain angle, but you're following it without hesitation, without judgment, without analyzing, controlling, just allowing what comes up to be okay. And when it comes to a stillness, let it be there. When it's ready, and you can't do it before it's time, because if you try to force your head to be still, there's going to be some tension still. So you got to let it go all the way through. I'm going to let Jeanette get it all out, got to work it through. And you can feel it when it's ready to stop. All right. Now, both of those ways you got to stretch, didn't you? And the first one felt good. You stretched those muscles that you said we were going to stretch. The second way you got the stretch that you need, but it was different, wasn't
it? Yeah.
One drew your awareness inwards into a deeper, more profound state of awareness and consciousness. And the guidance was coming from within you. I didn't tell you how to move the head, except for in the beginning, maybe to give the context, but then I let you go and you're following your own inner guidance. That's the difference between the external, or I shouldn't say external, but the discipline focus of sometimes of an athlete or in the military or trying to get something done. And you can't achieve that. You're going to get what you need to get done. But the other way, the spiritual practice is for self-realization, self-actualization,
it's like more heart-centered.
It's more heart-centered, more satisfaction. You'll get satisfaction and fulfillment. The other one didn't quite fulfill you. It got the job done, but the other one was more fulfilling. You see the difference? That's the difference.
It's like fast food healing versus organically grown, locally grown, cooked at home type of healing.
That's the difference.
The first one was like the McDonald's meal.
Apparently, but if that's all you know,
it felt good. You got full real quick, but it was just not there.
And you got full,
that's
but
all
not
you know. Then that's what you're gonna do, and you'll get the result that you said you were gonna get. Your calculated result. You turn this way, you turn that way, you apply this pressure, you're gonna get the result. But,
and one thing with the McDonald's meal, like the fast food, a lot of times when we talked about at the beginning, you put your intentions out there, and either the lesson shows up or the solution. The McDonald's meal would probably be the lesson that like comes to you, and it's easy and it's readily available. But if you wait a little longer, if you wait 5 minutes longer, 5 days longer, you'll get that organic meal. So a lot of times, if we're so needy, we want to do stuff. And I talked to Jerome recently on this, that, and I was smart enough to go to Jerome that I really wanted a project to work. And so I sent it to Jerome. He's like, nah, it's not a good fit.
Interesting.
Because and I knew that I may have some blind spots around it. And I was still feeling a little doubtful of the project. But that's why I
work.
Go ahead.
You really wanted it to work.
Yeah, I really wanted it to work. And I'm good at not doing that for the most part, but every once in a while I get a little needy and I get sucked in, just like the example we're doing with the person that she had that place and she felt lonely and felt unsafe at her house, so she was calling a lot of men to come over there, which there probably was a lot of stuff that wasn't happening. But when you bring a lot of that stuff into business, you expose yourself. You're exposing yourself like the McDonald's, even though you may not know better about that, but you're exposed. I love McDonald's French fries. But I'm clear of when I'm eating them, what's going on during the process, and I don't eat them all the time.
Yeah.
And when I used to go to McDonald's in the factory, I was just like, just want to get some fries, but then I would end up getting a burger and a Coke because it was cheaper to get all those together.
Mm-hmm. The
Yeah.
conditioning of America.
Now I do want to say, in the training, most spiritual traditions, they start out with the discipline, which is good because it has to, you're trying to get to that state of self-realization, self-awareness, unscathed. Because if you just purely follow the free form, you may get there, but sometimes it's like that car that you drive in and it bumps into the wall and then it go and go up, that's up, and then finding that that self-remote car, or the the machine that vacuums your rug, it runs into the chair, the chair of the table, or the leg of the table, boom, and it backs up, and it goes again, boom, here's another one, and it backs up, then it goes free. It can go like that. But what you do have to do, I feel like there is a balance, and the balance I found is in a certain set of principles that are helpful, like and that are helpful in the beginning, like non-violence, non-stealing, stuff like that. Not to say there may be a time to be violent, but it's going to come from a different place, especially in the beginning while we're trying to hone the listening to that inner guidance, that spiritual direction. Because what could happen, I see all the time, people following the spiritual path, and they say, I'm just following, I'm just listening to guidance, I'm just going to follow that. They don't have a certain foundation, so their very actions are inviting in conflicts, situations that create conflict.
An example that I do, sometimes I'll be walking out in public and then all of a sudden I sense somebody like wants to create harm for me, and then I will look at them and then I'll put my body in an aggressive one just to make them fearful, so there is no violence that happens. I put the fear of God in them to protect myself because I don't want it to come down to that. So sometimes violence can be non-violence.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying if a person has some bad habits, let's say they have a habit of just coming off abrasive, and maybe through trauma, or maybe through just their upbringing, that a quality of peace hasn't been cultivated. Well, when they're following that free form movement, at first is going to be coming out as being abrasive. That means they're inviting in that same energy. And then they wonder why, man, why are all these people like this, disrespectful, or doing this to me, or another person, I knew it. It's just, you can't trust these guys or these people or this. But in the beginning, it requires a practice. That's why they say if you can, in the beginning, the discipline is practice softness in your voice, peacefulness in your thoughts, words, and actions. That's all. All the traditions of wisdom say that. Do unto others, you want others to do unto you. Non-stealing, patience. Even if it's hard in the beginning, you're using your willful effort to not react in the beginning. Now, once that becomes more of a habit because it's been entrained, then you can relax, draw awareness inwards, let go of that a little bit, and then follow. And then you can feel how, and then your nature is going to attract more in alignment with that harmony, balance, truth, love, dharma, right action. Otherwise, sometimes it can get us it can get some people into trouble. Well, not trouble, because they will find their way because they're honoring that principle. But what happens is, you've seen that image of Kali,
Yeah.
the image of the Divine Mother, who in Hinduism, her tongue is out with dripping blood, and she has a garland of skulls, of guys, of skulls around her neck, and she has these weapons in her hand. She's blue. I think she got about 4 arms and stuff, with her foot on the neck of this.
Is that Khali?
Kali. Kali.
Kali.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
okay.
you seen that? Yes.
Yeah.
Divine principle.
A little visual for those who can't.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a divine principle that is there to destroy the negativity, but it comes out as the 2x4 method. Yeah. But you're still on the path. It's just that you're going through some hardships during that time. It just has to be.
I want to share with Jerome, and I've never asked you this question.
I got about 5 minutes, and then I got to roll.
Perfect. So, you know how there's a lot of people, and they've talked for a long time about alpha dogs. And society thinks an alpha dog will be somebody that somebody bumps into them, and then all of a sudden they want to get in a fight with them. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of fear there for that person. That they feel totally disrespected because somebody bumps into them like accidentally. Is the world waking up to the power of being able to have a peaceful voice and to have peaceful actions, opposed to feeling threatened by everything?
I mean, is the world waking up to? I think people are aware of it. I mean, yeah, I think people are aware. I don't know if they're.
So what I'm asking, that it's a superpower, not a weakness. The fact that you would find ways to find peace, opposed to all of a sudden just like always wanting to conquer, always wanting to get things like that. Because I think we're still electing politicians that are that same way, and we're still trying to go for CEOs that are that sort of way, opposed to people that operate from peace. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's like the brother said right here, so slowly but surely. But the problem is, so long as the focus is on the specific outcome, tangible outcome, then it's going to be that alpha mentality is a military mentality to dominate, to discipline, to control, to the elements to achieve the goal, because the focus is on getting a certain outcome. That's where that comes from,
Which is domination.
What's that?
It ends up being domination by a country, right?
It could be a country.
People are being sold this concept of promised safety, maybe. I mean, at least
internally, and to achieve, and then the idea, if that's their only model to they feel like if they did achieve that, then they would be peaceful, they'd be safe, they'd get what they want. But yeah, I think that it won't change so long as that outcome is to be external like that. I think there had to be a little bit of vulnerability to just choose being peaceful first, cultivate that inner awareness and follow that without hesitation. And then, it's going to be hard, because behind that, like you said, Steve, is a fear or a neediness for people to respect them so they can be okay in the world, so they can feel, like if they get disrespected, then they're not going to, they're not feeling loved. That's love for them. Love is being respected. And if they feel like they're not going to be loved or feel safe, then they have to make themselves be that way. It could be.
I know, yeah,
They got to do some inner work.
yeah.
That's what I said. Everybody has to do that inner work, and so long people aren't going deeper inside to what's causing those that way of being, whatever it may be. I mean, people might be, you know, not be the alpha dog and be holding themselves back, and it be out of fear too. I think what's missing is the just the mainstream, everybody on board with having a way to resolve core issues of fear, sadness, grief, doubt, shame, and having that a regular mainstream accepted practice in
I
our
think
yeah.
I think, and I know you got to go soon. I think it's like you're saying, like the outcome. I think it's incentives. Incentives. I think there needs to be more incentives for doing good.
Mm-hmm.
And and uh,
That's
and
how that's how
I would say
children
for the
operate a lot of the time, if you think
what
about
was
it.
that?
That's how a lot of children operate. The more incentives you have or you put out there, the more willing they are to do good, right?
Yeah, for sure. Do you got to run, Jerome?
I gotta go, man.
Yeah. I'll let you pop out of here before we go into something
Good
else.
to
But thank
see
you very much.
you. Be
Hey,
safe. Happy holidays.
all right. Happy holidays.
So, you know the turtle pond at San Diego State.
Yep.
So the turtle pond is actually called the koi pond, but there's turtles and there's koi. And I remember that the turtles mostly wouldn't let any of the students get by them.
Mm.
Um, and some students that were more peaceful could get close to them. And I'm like, it's a 50-50. Sometimes I got too much energy for the turtles. Sometimes they'll let me get close to them. And one time I saw
Turtle pond.
this old guy, 70s, 80s, and he's like sitting there rubbing the turtle's neck. And then I asked him, I go, "Are you a marine biologist?" Because I figured, man, this guy
Oh, I
must be.
remember. I think I saw him. He works on campus.
Yeah. It may be another guy. But I go to him and he goes, "No, I'm feeding the turtles. I'm feeding the turtles ham." So
No.
we are animals. People like, I'm using a female example, but there's many examples. This is the one that popped in my head. A female may be real disciplined about not having multiple partners because it's her rule. It's her rule within her head. She doesn't want to have multiple partners, but there may be a celebrity that's her bait. There may be money, so a certain level of status or fame that's her bait that she'll expose herself to danger. Does that make sense? So in business, there is a certain amount that you can pay a person that will, most people, like I told you, I've talked in the past about a lot of people won't get involved in projects unless I pay them, even though they're projects that they want to do. And I understand that like me, that's not how I'm wound. But the really important thing is in a corporate structure, you can pay somebody a certain amount, just enough that all of a sudden they went not knowing how to do something to know how to do something. Oh, they'll get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
Or you got to pay them between that one that all of a sudden makes them smart enough to be relevant and get things done. Then you pay them too much, they get arrogant. And there's a right balance for that. So what they're doing is it's overshadowing their fear, so they do shit that they wouldn't have done otherwise because of that money, because of that. Just like that turtle. That turtle was like, fuck, man, that old man, he's gonna fucking kill me. But oh, he's got fucking he's got fucking pork.
Food.
Like, he must be a good person.
A land animal. I'm dead.
So we have to acknowledge that we are like this too. And as spiritual beings, we got to make sure that we don't control people based on this too, based on our clout, based on our following on social media, based on a lot of these different things that we do. Do two people come together with really strong skills? Some might have money, some might have a following and everything that can create positive magic. Yes. But are we going to use that magic? And some of those people may want to hook up, but we want to go on the guide that it's not the hypnotism of a lot of these social constructs that have been here for a while. Because I have the situation in there, and I'm like, and I'll slow it down. I will let that person make a decision. I will leave that person, like have them stay at my place or whatever, and I'll go leave so they can think about shit for a while. So they can go through whatever they need to go through so they can make a good, sound, strong decision. And a lot of times it ruins the situation, and I'm kicking myself, and sometimes I kick myself for like years, but I'm glad that I didn't make a mistake that was something that was more harmful. So what do you have to say to that?
I think it's a good place to wrap up.
Yes, and when I hook up with women, I always make sure I wrap up.
Wear a condom.
Wrap
up.
You're talking about something else. My bad.
Appropriate.
Cool. Thank you very much to everybody. Thanks for Jerome.
Yes, thank you.
Here and grounding this conversation. And there's going to be more of this. We're going to keep on doing this.
Good conversations. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and supporting. Peace.